I've been involved in teaching wellbeing practices for 40 years now. It's really been such a long and major thread of my life, and had a kind of feeling of how come that many of the approaches that focus on well-being have very little to say about some of the major threats to well-being in our time. Issues like the climate crisis, issues like the depletion of nature, inequality and war and the threat of war, and the list goes on. And what would it be like to redesign or to design a well-being approach that was a better fit for the 21st century? And so that's really been Project Suha, taking on the project of developing an approach to well-being, not just individual well-being, but also collective well-being as well. And these two words, Suha, stand for sustainable happiness. And it's really about bringing together sustainability and also happiness. And that really bring these two together in a way that has a deep interconnection that we'll be exploring. And so our question that we're holding is, could we develop an approach to well-being that doesn't involve turning away from world issues, but is instead about playing our part or supporting us to play our part in a way that's satisfying, that's good for ourselves, other people, and the world. So that's the starting point. And as we've been developing Suha, and we ran an 8 week pilot course just last year, there's a lot of different pieces of the Suha puzzle. And our goal in this webinar is to introduce some of those pieces, ideally enough so that you can take away and use these in ways that add to your life, that are useful to you, and also support you in playing a role in supporting the well-being in other people and also our world. So that's the hope of that we're starting with here. And I want to begin with just a simple Suha move, and I'm actually going to stop sharing here. This is one of my favorites. It's one I do often. Just have your hand here and invite you to do this, just to look at your palm. And as you look at your palm represents the present moment of here and now. And there's this stance or understanding that wherever you are, whatever you face, it can go many different ways. So there's better ways, perhaps thumbs up, there's worse ways, there's ways in the middle. Influenced here by the Penn Resilience Program, where they have these perspective check questions. Penn Resilience Training Program developed by psychologists at the University of Pennsylvania, where they say, what's the best that can happen? Thumbs up. What's the worst that can happen? And what's most likely to happen? Just as a way of whatever you're facing, just a perspective check, recognizing that there's different ways it can go. And what we're really looking at with Suha is how to make best or better options more likely and worse less likely or less harmful. And what's useful about this is that even if things work out badly, even from the little finger pathway, that same process still holds, that you can follow your little finger, things will take a turning for the worse. But from a turning for the worse, things can work out different ways. There are better ways it can go. And so this is a Suha move where you just, whatever you're facing, you say, well, this can go different ways. And following that, there's another move called the what if maneuver. And what if maneuver is it's a move to encourage you to consider different scenarios, but also to follow a particular scenario. So they're like, what if I went this way? Or what if we went this way? And you consider that, but then also recognize there's another move here called choice point. So that's a C, and that's me pointing to it. Choice point. And I might do this to myself. I might say, Chris, choice point. Okay, I've got a choice point of I don't know how things will develop. There's these different ways life can go, my life can go, this day can go, our society can go. I don't choose which way things go, but I do choose which way I support. And so I want to support a what if that I want to introduce you to here now. So, what if there was a future where when you went down to the local community centre and you saw different boards for different well-being practices, and think of it as board of well-being, but that on the notice board of well-being, there's one that might catch your eye called Suha. And it, like yoga or Tai Chi, it's a practice that you can engage in on a daily basis that supports well-being. But what's different about this approach is it's not just personal well-being, it's also about putting out ripples of well-being in support of the flourishing of life in ourselves, other people, and our world.